everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to CineFix. We are sitting here today for a spoiler-filled discussion of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I'm not even going to introduce who we're sitting here talking to before I give you the official spoiler warning. Get out of here. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't understand why you clicked on this to begin with. So, hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to CineFix. We're going to talk about Rogue One, all the spoilers, all the time. Joining us today, Rachel and Dustin, whose review went up last week, and
Yes.
I think gushing is probably too strong a word.
Okay.
But maybe not.
I hear you. We liked it a lot.
Liked it a lot. And also, Josh Dickey, how you doing, man?
Feeling rebellious. This is a rebellion, isn't it?
It is indeed. So let's get right into it. General thoughts about the movie aside, you guys obviously loved it. Josh, you...
I thought it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I'm right smack on the fence as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was stuff about it that was cool and that I liked and I was kind of excited to see. But I think that as a movie itself, it's going to suffer the same fate that The Force Awakens did, which is people love it, love it, love it, they're crazy, oh my god. It's so awesome, and then some time goes by and you see it a couple, three more times and you kind of go,
You're gonna maybe forget about it real quick. But, so Darth Vader.
By the way, we can't get right into Darth Vader.
Can we not?
Rachel and I are here to fight you guys.
Oh my goodness.
Look,
That's
I have to get my gloves on for this.
Yeah, you
I said
have it
over
literally
here.
pointed at us.
being fanboys and girls is one thing, but I still think it was a very, very solid movie.
very, very solid. That's like...
You're already
punch.
pulling you back.
Hey, I didn't say it was the best movie ever.
Yeah.
It's no
I also
longer,
feel
man.
like terrible is such a strong word for
I mean,
it
like,
too.
I think you're pulling your punches here because on Facebook you've been very clear, and Twitter, of how much you hated this movie.
There were
And I'm like,
elements
no.
of it. There were elements of it that I thought really sabotaged it. I thought that and we getting Grand Moff Tarkin and Leia digital recreations, which were I'm sorry. A lot of people said, "Oh, I didn't even notice." I'm like, well, that's because most people. And this is proven, need to have their eyes checked. There's just a certain amount of perception that can go into seeing what looks to me like a video game character on screen, and I just immediately was like, "What happened to the movie I was watching looked pretty cool. All of a sudden, now there's these plastic puppets running around and talking."
Yeah, and that's something we couldn't talk about in a review. 'Cause
Yeah.
Some of the only criticisms I did have had to do with things that were far too spoilery. So that's why
We
one
couldn't bring
reason
it
it came
up.
off is so gushy, because it's like I want to talk about a CGI character, bringing someone back from the dead to do CGI.
I agree with you on that. Some of the CGI was not right at all, and I could tell, and obviously it bothered me, but it didn't bother me to the point where I was like, this is terrible and I hate it and I can't watch it anymore. It's
And I agree that it's going to be it's going to age very, very poorly. I mean, even 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to look at it and be like, oh, that looks horrible.
I think even the next time somebody tries it, it's gonna be.
Oh, that's true too. I mean, this opens a whole can of worms. Everyone's going to start doing this, and that's a terrible thing. But it didn't take away my enjoyment of it because I was really excited to just be like, yep, the rumors were true. Tarkin is fully in this movie, not a cameo, but an actual role.
Counterpoint, my problems with Tarkin are twofold. One is that they're breaking their own rules because they're recasting. You got a different lady playing Mon Mothma. You recast Harrison. You got young Han Solo and young Lando coming up in the next movies. Why didn't you just recast? I would have been less bothered with just a different guy playing Tarkin than I did with CG. It didn't bother me that brought a guy back from the dead. Oh, Peter Cushing is still with us or whatever. But
Cushing estate signed off on that. So
whatever. That's not my issue. That's fine. But the problem.
Ethics.
The problem that I had. My other problem with the CGI character is that I think it was the turning point of where that device has become a tool that people are using just 'cause. Anthony Hopkins looked pretty all right in Westworld. Young Anthony Hopkins looked pretty all right in Westworld. Young Michael Douglas in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Young Robert Downey Jr. in Ant-Man.
In Civil War,
Civil War was incredible.
Looked good, yeah. But there was a function to that. They needed to make young versions of these actors. And with Tarkin, they just did it just 'cause. With Leia, they did it and Leia looked worse than Tarkin did. And
she looked tough.
She looked real bad.
That was a bad note to go out on.
Yeah, and even the way they cut it too. The moment didn't have any weight, and then she looked like garbage too. Anyway,
I thought there was weight. I was, aside from the CGI not looking good, I was 100% on board with the moment.
I was fully expecting her to say, "They've given us hope, a new hope."
We already had that. We already had that.
That would have been
moment
horrible.
we're called a rogue.
Yeah.
Rogue One.
I was fully expecting.
You only have
her
one of
to
those
do
moments per movie.
that. Yeah. So yeah, that's my problem. The CGI characters in this movie were one step too far. It's using a tool for the sake of using a tool, not the means to an end.
There was a way to do it. They could have just made him. When you saw him from behind at first, that was kind of chilling. Actually, I thought that was pretty cool. It's not
It's like a reflection.
Yeah, and then like
That
when
was
they
cool.
pulled up to the window and you see his face in reflection. Okay, so like let that moment simmer in your mind. Not suddenly then he turns around and now we're going to see him give a whole speech and have 4 or 5 different moments. He probably had more dialogue in this movie than he did in A New Hope.
I think he might have.
He probably did. Somebody should go count.
And I do think too the other thing about Tarkin to me is he totally took the legs out from under Ben Mendelsohn's character. I thought Krennic had the chance to be a really cool villain, but instead he's just this whiny like I want the credit, and like I feel like that made him a pretty toothless villain. Like
I like the relationship.
I would have.
felt
The
opposite.
dynamic was there, and I think it could have been like hinted at, and that could have been part. But that, like, that's all Ben Mendelsohn had to do. Was like, I'm gonna get the credit for this. Whereas if he was just like, I built this station and I'm gonna use it. Like, I don't care what you say. Like, that would have been a much scarier villain to me.
I hear you on the Tarkin thing. My only last thing I'd say is somebody was going to do this. Somebody was going to do this, not a de-aging, but a fully realized, bringing a character back, an actor back. And so what better place than a Star Wars movie? I don't kind of ever want to see it again, even though I know it's going to happen now constantly. But I felt like it didn't take away from, I'm like, if you're going to do it, Tarkin, that's perfect. That's the perfect one to be the first one. You know?
Okay.
But I feel like you guys maybe disagree.
What did you guys think about the literal shots from A New Hope that they used during the X-Wing battles? Like
That was awesome.
I thought that was
Not
cool.
expected at all.
It was not. It was a little bit unexpected. The only thing about it that it was a little obvious to me. I'm like, I know, because I've seen that movie so many times now that you can't slip even a couple frames past me without me going, well, that's just.
But they used unused footage too. There's
did.
actual
Yeah.
shots
That's
that they
true.
like found old boxes of film that had never even been digitized before and just like poured through it and then implanted unused takes, which I think is really cool.
That
and
was a cool- that was
visually,
cool.
I felt like I could tell every time, but I was okay with it. I'm like, that's a cool idea. Like these guys are in this battle.
It was a little more sleight of hand. It was very fleeting. It was sort of like they didn't dwell on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you sort of like, before you even have a chance to sort of register that that's what you just saw, you're on to the next thing, which was done really well and kind of a neat. That was kind of a neat trick, I thought.
I do think, and this might be getting ahead to what I think is the sort of the biggest discussion about this movie is like you hear all these interviews with Gareth Edwards saying like, oh, it's like getting to play with the toys that you played with growing up, and to me that's what this movie felt like. Masturbatory isn't the right word, but it just felt like a fan film. Like I had that sense with Force Awakens, with the Easter eggs and with some of the nods. And I knew that movie had to be a little bit of fan fiction to begin with because it's like getting us back in the mood for Star Wars. But this one, to me, I was hoping these side stories wouldn't be so beholden to the Easter eggs and to, like you're talking about, like finding, using original footage and, oh, isn't this cool? We're playing with Star Wars stuff. And the other side of that coin is, like, the texture of this movie felt exactly like A New Hope. The production design was amazing. Like, I loved, even down to, like, all of the mustaches on the X-Wing pilots were so perfectly 70s. Like, that part of it I thought was great, but they didn't stop there. Like, they kept going. They were so joyfully like, oh, I'm playing with my Star Wars toys here, that it didn't feel
Just like pushing it a
It
bit.
didn't feel like its own movie.
So you didn't think if you stripped away the Star Wars universe that there was a solid movie at its core?
I don't think so. I mean,
either.
it was fine. Look, I will say that the Scarif stuff, all of the beachfront stuff, I thought was an amazing sequence. The last 30 or 40 minutes of the movie, whatever, I thought was really great.
That was the best sequence.
And I thought it was made even more impressive by the fact that these characters that I didn't give 2 solid craps about leading up to that sequence, I actually cared when they died, or I cared when they succeeded in the context of just that sequence.
Very bold choice, by the way, to just sort of kill them off one by one. Like that. I mean, it really did feel like a series of blows. Like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Yeah.
And
Which
then
was-
you realize
It was just very warlike.
Yeah, Star Wars has always had, there's not a whole lot of dread in the original trilogy. There is sort of in the middle, but This one brought the dread.
Really, the only spot in the original trilogy is when Luke is hanging from the bottom of Cloud City. I'm like, how's he going to get out of this?
Yeah.
And but then in this one, it's like I'm kind of expecting people to die, and I've sort of been like, I'm okay with the fact that these characters are probably going to die. And
Well,
some of them
you're going
carry
into
more
it
weight.
expecting them to die, but I think a lot of people, and what the trick was with this movie probably was, we know it has a happy ending. We know that they steal the Death Star plans, and then A New Hope starts. So
Right.
that's what I thought was actually pretty clever about it. Was like, let's just go all the way with this, and we are literally killing all of the characters. I thought that was a really bold choice that I was kind of scared that they would shy away from and be like, oh no, maybe she's alive at the end or something stupid.
Right.
But it's like, no, dude, they're dead. One by one, and then that's it. And the story is over.
And
We're
then
not gonna.
nuclear tidal wave, and we're out.
That's it. Yeah, I like
They
that.
call this a standalone story because it kind of isn't.
It's
I mean,
very
it really
much
is
not.
a midquel. It's like it fits very neatly into the. I mean, I don't know why they didn't just say that.
And
to
again-
me, a side story is Boba Fett going off and doing
Yeah,
some other
yeah.
adventure.
It's
That's-
a prequel to
Yeah.
A New Hope, and I think those two movies together are super solid. If you've watched nothing else.
Can I ask you guys about this? Because you may maybe have a better shot at coming up with a clear answer, and I intend to dive into this on the site at some point. But the way that that Rogue One sort of docks with New Hope, I feel like has a few gears that don't quite mesh. Because in
I
A
think
New
of
Hope,
one very big one.
in A New Hope, that Leia's ship is flying away and it's overtaken, and then now Vader is coming aboard and saying, "Hey, where are the plans?" She's like, "I know what you're talking about. It's a diplomatic mission."
Yeah.
There is no plausible deniability
Literally just
whatsoever
That's the big
left.
one.
fly away.
Yeah,
Like 10 minutes ago.
So wait a minute. So
For some reason, Princess Leia was inside her ship going into battle. For some reason, and her ship was inside like the flagship or whatever. And then when that got destroyed, then they were like, "All right, get it out of here." It's like, what were you doing there to begin with?
so it wasn't docked with the Star Destroyer.
No. It
with
was
one of
docked
its
with
own-
one of the rebel
Oh, okay.
ships,
See,
and
I
then the
just
rebel
got
ship
confused
gets
by that.
destroyed, and then that's the whole thing with Vader at the end, where he. By the way, Vader kicking ass.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
the
was
best.
awesome. Vader only doing that scene in that movie would have been
Would have been amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I totally agree
Vader
with that.
like waking up in his back to tank and like throwing around
Yeah.
some weird punny lines about choking and
His
that, like
lines
I'm
were
just like,
bad.
come on guys, don't.
It would have been cool to not see Vader at all when like all of that was happening. Like Krennic could have been talking to him, but we don't see him on screen. And then like Vader comes in at that last scene. It would have been
Would
so
have been amazing.
Yeah.
And again, I think it speaks to the fact that they can't just make their own good movie. They're so beholden to nods to the original trilogy that well we have to have Tarkin, even if that's at the expense of our own villain. Like they can't make a new original villain.
No, but it's because in this movie, in this timeline, the villain has to be Darth Vader, so they had to invent another one unless they were just going to go all in with Darth Vader. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like they had to create
So
this
either
other
go all in with
character.
Darth Vader or go all in with Krennic. For me, the biggest conversation, though, specifically about these spin-off, these side stories, is like, are they all going to be so beholden to the original trilogy that they're not going to be their own things? Because I feel like Rogue One had a chance, and I think it did this to a certain extent, but it had a chance to be like the Saving Private Ryan of the Star Wars universe. And then I want the Han Solo movie to be the Smokey and the Bandit of the Star Wars universe. And like, I don't need it to tie into anything.
What would you
I
have
don't
Han
need
Solo's
that-
movie
that-
be about then?
I honestly want him and Lando Calrissian. I honestly want Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah,
Space.
Cannonball Run was the one.
Yeah,
that I like
I mean,
that.
give me. I want him smuggling. I want to see just one story of him smuggling. I don't want
Fan
anything.
service. I don't want any fan service for that movie.
I don't
just
want
it to be a
anything that
romp.
expands on the character that he already is. I want that character doing something else.
Because it's a universe
drag.
now, and it has gone beyond like what everyone loved about the first movie and the first trilogy. But I think that was just inevitable. Like now, it is a much bigger thing. Like I love
It's
the
not,
way
though.
that the it is.
It's not, though. They
in
literally-
pop culture,
they
it's like
literally
Star Wars
made-
is like a thing. It's not just like one movie anymore. It's like this is a universe. There's a lot of gears turning
But
that
they're
go
not.
into this.
But what I'm saying is they're not taking it. If it, I agree, it's a huge universe, and obviously Disney has ton like business-wise and like culturally, it's a huge thing. But they're not taking advantage of that at all by like just making a movie that ends 5 minutes before A New Hope starts and like tying it that directly into it. Like they're not taking advantage of this huge universe. They're just making the same movies over and over with the same X-wing battles over and over again.
Yeah, I think we'll get beyond that though. I think that's like kind of why a lot of people complain about Force Awakens basically being A New Hope over again, which I agree, but I also see why they kind of did that. And I think they're just being maybe overly safe on how they're like getting further and further outside of that original trilogy. At least I hope.
This whole thing reminds me of like the Harry Potter franchise because I just saw Fantastic Beasts a few days ago, and that is in that world, but it's not directly tied to the Harry Potter, Harry Potter and his story. And I found myself like, and there's a lot of like Easter eggs in there too for Harry Potter fans, and I'm like a huge Harry Potter fan, and it didn't tie in directly to what was going on. I mean, kind of did, but I get what you're saying because that story is, I feel like, very standalone, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would or wanted to.
I would agree that I think that movie is a little too far afield of the Harry Potter story to really feel like it connected. It felt very cold.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a hard line to.
It's hard to balance it.
Exactly.
It's a small target, to be sure.
Yeah.
I just don't think they even tried to hit it with this.
I don't think they did quite yet.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're gonna get there. Like we're just baby steps.
Yeah. For me, like, because I was with it, like, it was like, oh, hey, that's cool that the X-Wings feel like X-Wings again. Or it's like, that's cool, I get it. That's not enough anymore. It's like, we're back, you're gonna make a Star Wars movie every year. Like, it's not special anymore.
I think it was necessary after Force Awakens, though.
No, I think Force Awakens did it, and it's not necessary anymore. I think that's where we're.
Because they updated everything. It was like new Stormtroopers, new X-Wings, new everything, new hologram, which I hated.
But Star Wars is back, though. After Force Awakens, Star Wars is back. We know we're getting one every year.
Yep.
Like, just make it a good movie. Like, I don't need to run into the guy from the Mos Eisley Cantina in the middle. Like, I don't need it. Because now I'm like, oh,
in every film.
and I'm out of the movie.
distracted.
I'm
out of the movie
I really
completely.
needed these designs, though, I guess. Maybe that was
The designs are fine, absolutely.
I needed Force Awakens and then this one, and then now whatever they do, it's fine. But like I needed this one. I needed to see all the original things because I was not crazy about all the updates to just the look of everything. It wasn't as Star Warsy to me. This one was like 100% design-wise Star Wars.
One other point that I just want to throw out, which is Star Wars, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, you just like are immediately, oh my God, these guys. Like, I want to hang out with these guys for the whole movie. Even The Force Awakens a little bit, I think Daisy Ridley, less so John Boyega for me, but at least, the characters, I cared about the characters enough to sustain.
Nothing in this one, right?
I like Diego Luna.
The whole first
Diego
half.
Luna is Diego Luna is a
Cold
wonderful actor.
heart.
He's really good, but he is not
The whole-
heroic. He's just not. He's like, he should be doing ballet, not battle.
The whole first 2/3 of this movie for me were pretty standard, like overbaked Hollywood notes kind of because you were with.
They probably were.
Oh no! they
Totally.
guaranteed were. So-
The vast majority of the reshoots were dialogue.
Yeah, and by the way, like almost Fantastic Four levels of stuff in the trailers that didn't make it in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is always a
That's
bad
like
sign.
That's
You
just
could do a whole
practical
episode on just
Yeah. The trailers made Jyn Erso seem like a straight up badass who didn't give a shit about anything.
Right.
And in the movie, she just seems like she's just a little girl who misses her dad. Like I didn't
that was a
get
victim
any.
of the reshoots.
I think.
Yeah,
honestly.
I didn't get any weight from her character at all, so I didn't really.
The jumping around in the first 30 minutes is really
That was
disorienting.
very
well, and
jarring.
especially and some of it just didn't make any sense. It's like we see Jyn Erso as a kid, we see her then wake up in prison, then we're immediately going to see Diego Luna's character do something,
Right. Not
and
clear
then
what he
we're
was doing
we're
there.
off to Mon Mothma doing something else,
Yeah.
and then we're over
I think
here
it was
to-
just that whole like montage of there's all these different planets, which I love seeing all the different planets, but the way that they did it, it was just too quick, and I like lost track of wait,
Also,
where are we?
yeah.
And
What is with the new fonts? No to new fonts.
Stop it, new fonts.
We need a no new fonts cut of that movie. That's
Yeah.
what we need.
All right, we'll get working on that. Any last thoughts?
This is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel. Why wasn't that in
yeah,
the
that
movie?
wasn't in the
Yeah.
movie.
That's the Jyn Erso that I wanted. That's the Jyn Erso that I was sold.
I wanted that to be so bad it's good,
Yeah.
so good it's bad.
Well, clearly this conversation is going to continue off camera, but let us know what you think about Rogue One. Do you agree, disagree with any of what we said just now over the past couple minutes? Let us know in the comments below. Click like, subscribe, stick around CineFix for more stuff, and we will see you next time. May the Force
May
be
the
with
force
you.
be.
Can't hit
If you had a lightsaber, would you make it go boing instead of...
Wouldn't that be awesome? Boing, boing,
Do you think
boing.
that's part of the Kyber crystal thing, is you get to like import your own sound effects?